David Dennis Jr., Woody Page, George Sedano. Who will be the number one in the upper quartile of the upper quartile? Today, the latest on Josh Allen, a UCL injury in baseball that could be a season ender. Timeline here is varying, and the AFC East much closer. Are the Bills in trouble? Let's go.
What about the JETS? Jets, Jets, Jets.
There's going to be a lot of Bills fans jumping through tables, and not for good reasons.
The biggest NFL news of the week, Josh Allen being evaluated for injury to you. How much trouble might the Bills be in right now?
They have to be concerned. I would think the Bills, all of Bills Mafia, is holding their collective breath, waiting to see what the outcome's going to be. Now, you look at that last pass, and can we at least acknowledge that might be one of the most impressive incomplete passes that we've seen in the NFL maybe in 20 years? He nearly threw the ball 70 yards. Now, is that adrenaline? Is he a tough guy? I think that all applies. But now that, a couple of days after that game, how is he feeling? I think for the Buffalo Bills, you have to be concerned. And right now, this could be a game changer in the AFC.
If it were to be 4 games, and again, we don't know the timeline, we don't even know the severity at this moment, but if it were to be 4 games, could they survive that, Frank?
I think they can. If you're going to tell me it's 4 games, I might do this if I'm the Buffalo Bills and say, you know what, I'll take that, because the alternative, his season being over, that would
David Dennis Jr., bring you in here.
Yeah, if it's 4 games, I'd take it. This is still the second best defense in the league. 2 of those games are the Browns and the Lions. They should be able to win that. And Josh Allen should be able to come back, and they should be moving on to what everybody here at least probably thinks is a Super Bowl team. I think long-term, though, there's a little bit of issue. I know this hit took place in the pocket, but Josh Allen takes a lot of big hits. And if these injuries start piling up, then you really got to think about some sort of change of play, because, you do not want him to be, his body to break down a la Cam Newton or somebody like that.
Woody Page.
Well, David, this wasn't about his style of running the football. This would have happened to any pocket quarterback. But I would say this, Case Keenum and Diggs had that miracle pass in Minnesota, and they're playing the Vikings this week. But do you really want Case Keenum in the lineup for a month? They could be in last place. That is a great division with the Jets. And what's happening
that is
with
a
Miami
fire
and
take.
even the Patriots. And they play the Patriots in
these
this
next 4
stretch of 4 games. I think he's tough enough. He's going to play through this. I saw him at Wyoming play through an injury there. He's that kind of tough guy. I think we'll see him this coming week, actually.
But let's get back to your take, though. They might not be able to survive 4 games if he were to sit out because this division is so good. Is that what you're saying, Woody?
Everybody thought they were going to run away with this division, be the number 1 seed. They are not even a possibility to be the number 1 team in that division after these 4 weeks if he doesn't play, because we see what the Jets are doing, what Miami's able to do with Tua, and the Patriots, they're playing them in the 4th game. Yes, they could be in deep trouble as a wild card.
And George Sedano.
I just want to say I'm happy to know that I wasn't the only person watching him at Wyoming on ESPN2 in the middle of the night. It seems like Woody was also watching him back then. But here's the thing. Short term in the micro, in person, even better. In the micro situation, Tony, there is some concern because he's the central focus of their offense, and it's not like their running game is anything to be said when it's not him running the football. Now, Case Keenum is a capable quarterback, but capable gets you maybe 500 in a stretch of potentially 4 games. In the macro, though, if they can stay afloat with Case Keenum and he comes back, I like their chances because he's still arguably the best quarterback in the league.
Next 4 games, home for Minnesota, a 7-1 Minnesota Vikings team. And then they have the games you alluded to, Cleveland, Thanksgiving Day versus Detroit and New England. We've been horned, we'll move on. Indianapolis Colts, Jeff Saturday introductory press conference last night. Take a listen.
What was your reaction when you got the call from Mr. say that you're going to be running this?
Yeah, shocked would be an understatement.
Yes, he is fully capable. I'm glad he doesn't have any NFL experience. I'm glad he hasn't learned the fear that's in this league. I don't know how to make sausage. I don't know what goes into sausage. But I do know how to build a football team. In the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile.
The quartile of the quartile. All right, maybe put that one to the side just for a second. The criticism yesterday of this hire, that a former great for the franchise, but with no head coaching experience in college or the pros, gets the interim job out of nowhere. And you heard, David, he said he was shocked. How did you hear it last night?
What I heard in that press conference was an insult to a whole lot of black coaches who get told the opposite, and that being the reason they don't have jobs. They get told they don't have enough experience. Well, Irsay said, I wanted somebody who didn't have experience. Black coaches get told they don't interview well. Jeff Saturday said they basically didn't even have an interview. They just talked for a little bit, and he got the job. I know Irsay has hired black coaches, but he's hired great black coaches with proven records. The problem is this type of hire, out of nowhere, unproven, no background, and you're getting a head coaching position, does not happen to black people, and that is the problem.
And his explanation last night, struck you as what then?
It just struck me as a guy who was just making excuses for the cronyism that is rampant in the NFL. He just wanted to hire a friend of his for this job, and I'm,
Is that his right as an owner?
That he wasn't. It is his right as an owner, and it is our right to notice the pattern of owners who hire in this way. So we can do both. And I wish that when he had these press conferences, a lot more of the journalists pushed them and asked them about why they're hiring so many of these white friends instead of
Frank Isola,
black
I'll bring you in here first on how you heard David there, and then Irsay last night.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's being a little fair in this particular case to Jim Irsay because of his track record. So, of course, this has never happened to any coach where somebody gets hired without any experience, especially in the NFL. Now, Steve Wilkes did get an interim job in Carolina. He's got the same issue that Jeff Saturday's going to have. You don't have a quarterback, so good luck finishing out the season. But, Tony, you and I, we run into Jeff Saturday here at ESPN. The people here love him. Think about how long Jim Irsay has known him. He has a relationship. Is it outside the box? Of course it is. He's sitting there telling you he doesn't have any experience. That's what I wanted. He's essentially telling you, yeah, I know it's an outside-the-box hire. I really don't know if it's going to work. And guess what? 8 games from now, if it doesn't work, then maybe they make a change.
George Sedano.
Tony, I'm going to add that obviously it's not an indictment on Jeff Saturday. I worked with him closely in Bristol at times when I was there, and I like him as a person. I think he knows football. But even he asked the question to Jim Irsay and said this at the press conference, why am I a candidate? Which goes to show you that this place, Indianapolis, has been low-key kind of a dumpster fire since those Dungy Caldwell times back then.
So you don't believe in the upper quartile of the quartile, do you? The pool tile.
Correct. In 2018, Tony, Josh McDaniel left them high and dry for whatever reason, but certainly for a reason. Then you have the abrupt retirement of Andrew Luck, and now you have this situation. Yeah. And look, ultimately, David has a point. Black coaches are held to a different standard. Of the last 46 coaches who are intern coaches hired in the middle of the season, 10 of those have been white coaches with a .361 winning percentage, and the 3 black coaches that were hired were all 500 or better. That's a different standard.
That is the landscape that exists in the NFL. In this particular instance, while that may also be true, we have a one of one, right? We've never had a coach hired, even on the interim basis, with no experience to this degree, Woody Page. So considering that and hearing the owner say it and said, I just want to be outside the box, does that land?
I've got a couple of points. He did have high school football experience as a head coach, and he called Peyton Manning to get his offense and offensive plays. He was looking for help then. He's now looking for help, and he just named a guy who was the backup quarterback's coach.
You know that to be true? You're reporting that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He called Brandon Stokely, who said it, and Peyton Manning and said, give me offensive plays to call, because he was a center. I mean, he did call plays among the offensive line. But I would say this about Irsay. He said he knows how to build a championship roster team. I know exactly how to do that, too. Get the number 1 draft pick, and you get to draft Peyton Manning, then you get to draft Andrew Luck. That's how you build championship teams. It's not the way you make sausage, however. What's funny about Irsay is a month ago, he was considered a champion of people in the NFL because of what he said about the owner, Snyder, of Washington. Now he's acting like he's gone totally different, 180 degrees, where he's hiring somebody that has no experience whatsoever.
David Dennis Jr., last word.
Yeah, no hire, nothing like this happens in a vacuum. And you're dealing with a situation, an environment in which everybody's looking at the lack of black coaches. There is a lawsuit against the NFL for this, and you make this kind of hire. That's part of the story.
One more story here. Ravens with their no sweat win last night over the Saints. I'm not sure if any win in the NFL is no sweat, but 27-13. It's their third straight. They're up on the bye now and have a division they're on top of as well. George, first quarter of the year, they were giving away games. Now they're on a winning streak. What are these Ravens?
Tony, they're trending in the right direction to being the Ravens we thought they were supposed to be at the beginning of the season. They've won 3 in a row, and they've shown resiliency when you think about it offensively. No Andrews, no Bateman, no Edwards. They converted 9 of 15 on third down despite not necessarily having this great passing performance. That's not who they are. They run the football. They control the line of scrimmage, and then defensively they do that as well. You saw Justin Houston yesterday, 2.5 sacks. I feel like they're finally becoming
Woody,
the Ravens.
did you learn anything from a win over maybe the not-so-stellar Saints?
I think they're Super Bowl worthy is what I think, based on the fact that they've won Super Bowls with defense, but they have a quarterback this time. They won Super Bowls with mediocre quarterbacks. The other point I would like to make is they, despite being the second worst team in the fourth quarter in the NFL, they are still able to win games. And last night they missed 4 of their offensive players who are going to come back, and the next 8 games are against teams with losing record. They don't play a winner until the Bengals in the final game of the season, and that will make the difference in the division, I think, for the title.
David Dennis Jr.
The Ravens are the 5th team in the Super Bowl era to start the first 9 games with double-digit leads. And the 2 of those other teams won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, we can talk about these fourth quarter collapses all we want, but they dominated the Bills. They dominated the Dolphins for 6 out of 8 quarters. And if they can, tighten up that fourth quarter even just a little bit, you're looking at a Super Bowl contender like Woody said.
Isola, take anything away from last night's win?
It's just they're a rock-steady organization. They do things that help you win in January and February. They run the ball, and they play lights-out defense. That's what wins. Baltimore's been doing it for 20 years.
Sedano 11, Page 6, Dennis Jr. 10, Isola 6. Some strong lights-out defense there, Isola. Get to 6. Buy or sell on the other side.
Around the Horn is presented by
Buy or sell, it's the Angels. News coming from Southern California that they will not trade Shohei Ohtani this offseason. George, buy or sell?
I'm selling it, Tony. If you look at this team, they're bereft of talent, particularly in their rotation outside of Ohtani for the most part, and they have so many holes and one of the worst farm systems in the sport. This is the only way they can replenish this team and start over by trading someone like Ohtani.
Woody Page.
Howard, George, you're leaving out the most important part. They're trying to sell the team. You think they're going to get as much money for the team? I'm not talking about us as sitting here watching it, but they're not going to get the same amount of money when you give up one of the 2 best stars in all of baseball to another team. That makes no sense whatsoever.
David Dennis Jr.?
You keep him as long as you can.
I'm selling all this. Hashtag free my dog Ohtani. We got to get him out of there. And like even if they're trying to sell the team, anybody buying the team knows Ohtani's probably not going to be there for longer than a year. So it doesn't add too much value of it. Get him out of there, and hopefully they'll get him out there by the trade deadline at least.
Isola.
Yeah, go tell the new owner, the sales department, the marketing department that the biggest attraction in baseball you're looking to get rid of. I agree with Woody on this one. First of all, to sell the team, number 1. But guess what? Juan Soto of the Nationals got traded late in the season, and that got a big haul back. I'm waiting till at least July. First, I'm going to offer him an extension. I want to keep him.
Buy or sell too. Golden State 116, Kings 113 to snap the 5-game losing streak. But it took 47 points from Steph Curry to do it. They're now up to the 12 seed. 4.5 games back of the untankable Utah Jazz. Woody, buy or sell last night's win for Golden State?
I'm selling it. They were playing against the Sacramento Dance Kings. Really? They had set everybody the previous game so they could rest for this game. The bench collected 15 points total that they're talking about changing it. Wiseman's not part of the team right now, didn't play. Lamb, they were promoting, and he didn't do anything last night. They had to have 47 points out of him, still barely won the game, could have lost at the end.
Dennis Jr.
I'm buying the very first. What school did Steph Curry go to of the season? 47, 8-8, no turnovers. That's never happened. As far as the rest of the team, This thing with this bench is a big problem. Them trying to do the future while trying to get a championship is not working. It's the third game in a row where the starters played, where the starters were all plus and plus minus. The bench were all minus and plus minus. This new generation thing is not really working. They got to work on that rotation.
Frank Isola.
How do we know that the Draymond Green punch that, of course, everyone tried to sweep under the rug isn't impacting the team right now? Jordan Poole's not playing well. Draymond Green hasn't played well. Klay Thompson hasn't. By the way, Klay Thompson fouled Kevin Huerter on a potential game-tying three. Wasn't called. Go ask Mike Brown about that.
Frank Isola, the first panelist to connect the preseason fight to this slow start, George. Is there anything there?
I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, I think David kind of nailed it. When you think about it, here's what the Warriors are trying to do, Tony. They're trying to balance playing the older guys, not so much, and then playing the young guys a little more. Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman over the stretch of the season. You have Jerome in there now and Lamb. They're trying to do this balance. What they need to do is make a deal. Whether it's Andrew Wiggins or someone like that, they need to make another deal.
So you're making a trade over a team that won
guys.
a championship last year. Frank, you can respond.
Yeah, well, George is an authority on 4 and 7 teams. His Miami Heat are in the same boat right now. So Andrew Wiggins, their second best player in the NBA Finals. He's the problem. George, he didn't throw the punch. He's not Jordan Poole, got that huge contract, and last night I think he was 4 for 12. He struggled as well. Do not tell me that didn't have something to do with it. Don't sweep it under the rug.
I mean, it's small sample size theater here, Isola, but I know that's what you're good at.
Well, maybe you guys will get a little bit of a
You're good on Halloween.
showdown
I'll give you
sample
that.
coming up. Woody Page, David Ennis Jr., thanks for your time today. Sedano, Isola, showdown in 4 minutes, 10 seconds.
Come get some.
Be back. Bang. Isola, good luck in showdown.
Odell is someone that we have all the appreciation in the world for what he is as a competitor. I know that the Cowboy star on that helmet, when he puts it on, could look pretty good.
Who was Jerry talking about there? You know who he was talking about, Odell Beckham Jr. It just seems like a match made in heaven. But, George, can the Cowboys be the best destination for Beckham, or who do you think he should sign with?
Oh, I do think that the Cowboys could be a great spot for him. They clearly got the running game with Pollard. They've got a passing attack with their tight ends and one wide receiver. They could use a complimentary receiver. Odell fits perfectly. Could help them win that division.
Frank?
I love how Jerry Jones sending out a love letter on the radio to Odell Beckham when you're fully healthy, we're the team you want to come to, because he knows Odell's visited the Giants. So that might be something, a reunion back in New York.
Well, that didn't end so well, if I recall correctly, Frank.
Well, that's why we're going to
We
make it
heard
work.
that
What,
Odell had
in Dallas?
a locker waiting for him with the Rams. The Rams are falling off the table here. Maybe. Can you imagine Jerry with Odell Beckham, the post-game sound? We'll move on. Baseball award finalists posted today. Judge, Ohtani, and Alvarez for the AL MVP. That is a legit group. For the Cy Youngs and Rookie of the Years, about what you would expect. Managers of the Year, though. They do it in leagues, so the finalists in the NL, Dave Roberts, Brian Snitker, and Buck Showalter. In the AL, though, this is what I want to talk about. Terry Francona, Brandon Hyde, Scott Service. Not on the list, Dusty Baker. Are you checking the scorecard to make sure that's right now, Frank? Regular season award, but did Dusty get robbed?
Well, he went in, I think, with one of the favorites, number one. He's won the award 3 times. He got the one that he wanted. How about Terry Francona, though? Third lowest payroll in baseball for the Indians, and they made the Guardians, and they made the playoffs.
Tony, that award is generally goes to overachievers, regardless of what sport it is. I'm sure Dusty's okay hoisting the World Series trophy.
Showdown 3, college basketball. It's back, and on the first night, look at this final score. Norfolk State 125, Virginia University of Lynchburg 19. George, does a 106-point win have you thinking maybe this game should not have been played? Or is there value for Lynchburg in playing up against Norfolk State?
I don't believe it should have been played. The only time I think 106-point whooping should be played is when I play Isola.
Oh, there it is. Frank?
Yeah, but I would do this. I would have mercy on you. And I have a 30-second shot clock. I would work the clock down until the last second and then shoot. Then the score would be somewhat reasonable.
Frank,
what a waste.
You might think this is a small sample size, but it's 3-0 Sedano to take the face.
Barry.
Thank you, Tony. Look, today is election day, and I want to just talk about how sports has done a great job in promoting voting, okay? Whether it's the NBA not playing games today, using the arenas as polling places, the stadiums in the NFL doing the same thing. Go out and vote, people. This is a democracy. Do what you got to do. I have parents who grew up in countries where they couldn't vote at all. It was a sham. The best thing in their life was to be able